Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to another video. The international break is dragging, so I've decided that I'm going to produce another new news video for you all today. That is what we're going to be focused on. We've got some big topics to talk about and dive into. But before we get into all of that, I would like to remind you all to please like the video and also subscribe if you're new. Both things are always and very greatly appreciated. But for now, let's get into these news topics. Okay, so diving headfirst into it, we first come to the news regarding Marcus Rashford. A lot about him has been brought to light in the past few days in regards to where his future may lie, because there's been some pretty interesting reports regarding his future. The past few days I've seen reports come out that he may be set to quit Manchester United this summer, whilst other reports have said that he may be entering into negotiations over extending his stay at Old Trafford going forward. Like I say, certain reports have emerged over the past few days that Rashford may be looking to quit Manchester United when the transfer window rolls around again in the summer, regardless of who takes charge of Manchester United as their new manager going forward. Whilst other reports have claimed that he, alongside teammate Luke Shaw, may be entering contract negotiations with Manchester United going forward, as their contracts are set to run out next year. Allegedly, Arsenal, PSG and Barcelona are reportedly interested in securing the services of Marcus Rashford going forward, should he obviously decide to leave the club, and have been circling around him reportedly. Both Luke Shaw and Rashford have deals, like I say, that run out with the club next year. But of course, in typical Manchester United fashion, they of course have an optional one-year contract extension that the club can activate at any time, of course. It's a typical sort of clause that United put into all of their players' contracts, a one-year extension, just in case, of course, things like this happen where their contracts run out and they need some extra time to try and convince them to stay. We saw it happen last year with Jesse Lingard. It may happen again with these two players. Look, I think on the Rashford thing, I think you can easily tell it's not been his best season. It's not been the best season by him. It's not been the best season by United overall. There was a lot of promise and there was a lot of expectation going into this campaign. It just hasn't happened for either party. I think the off-the-pitch stuff that he does is incredible and inspirational. And I think obviously it'll be a worthy asset to any club that manages to sign him. Even if he does stay with Manchester United, of course, it'll be a worthy asset to have such a highly regarded player using his platform for the good of society and for the good of the community in that regard. But you could argue that maybe his off-the-pitch work has maybe affected and taken its toll on his performances on the pitch. You may also argue that he may be a little bit burned out, maybe with him notoriously carrying injuries and other little bits and pieces for a number of years now since he broke onto the first team senior squad scene. Maybe it's taken its toll on him as well. We know that he was carrying multiple injuries for the past few years, that he's been playing through the pain barrier in, so to speak. So maybe that's taken its toll. He eventually got some treatment on one or two of those injuries at the beginning of this season, after the Euros last year, of course. So you could argue that that may have taken its toll on him, and maybe he is feeling a little bit burnt out in that respect. And you could also argue that maybe another manager on top of the several managers that he's already had in his Manchester United career may have also caught up with him in that respect as well. So maybe all of that together has maybe affected his performances this season. Maybe, I don't know, I'm just throwing it out there as maybe some topics to talk about when regarding this subject. But it'll be really interesting to see how this plays out going forward for both him and Luke Shaw. Like I say, maybe for Rashford, maybe a move away wouldn't be the worst idea. Maybe he moves away and he rediscovers his good form. Maybe a fresh start will do him the world of good and be actually more beneficial to him. But you could also completely understand if he decides to remain at United and see out the rest of his contract there, and maybe see out the rest of his future in football there, because obviously that's where he's kind of grown through the ranks at that club and gone on to obviously make himself the big star that he is today. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with Marcus Rashford going forward. Our next story though does focus on one Manchester United player that does look set to commit his long-term future to the club, and that man is Bruno Fernandes. Reports have emerged over the past several days that a verbal agreement is in place for the Portuguese superstar to extend his stay and remain at Old Trafford for his long-term future. Fernandes arrived at United in January, the January transfer window of 2020, and has since hit the ground running in the Premier League, taken to it like a duck to water, and has breathed new life and new creativity into this Manchester United squad. And especially at that time, when you consider that it was a Manchester United squad that were a bit boring, a bit plain, and obviously were under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer at the time, he's certainly reignited a lot of hope and a lot of inspiration and drive into that Manchester United squad at that time, and it's only continued with the amount of goals and assists that he's managed to create, and also the chances he's created. A lot of creativity and a lot of flair within his performances, a lot of fire as well within his performances. So it might be seen as a good thing, but whilst it may all be positive and may seem positive on its surface, it does seem a little bit strange to me, the timing of this, for a number of reasons. Let's face it, Fernandes has 3 years left on his original contract, so there doesn't appear to be a great rush for him to sign a new deal. Of course, we know that obviously clubs like to tie down their best assets to long-term deals to try and ward off any interest from elsewhere and try and hike up the price tag, should that obviously be the case. But like I say, there seems to be enough time on his original contract for that not to be the case. With Rashford and Luke Shaw, as we spoke about previously, of course, their deals are running out very soon. So those two don't make sense. But for Fernandes, for this to be a priority that they focus on straight away, like I say, it does seem a little bit strange when you consider that maybe there are other priorities at that club to focus on. Like, I don't know, maybe trying to find a new manager, for example. The unknown entity in this whole story, and every Man United story that's surrounding it so far, is of course we don't know who the next Manchester United manager is going to be. So if Bruno ties him down to a new long-term contract for a long period of time without some sort of decent get-out clause for himself, and if things do go badly for him and or the club as well, he may end up regretting gambling on the club to do right by him and do right by and for both Manchester United. Of course, we saw last summer with Harry Kane not having some sort of get-out clause within his long-term contract that stopped him from getting his move to Manchester City. If Fernandes is unhappy at United at any point during his stay, well, he's tied himself to a long-term deal that obviously could backfire depending on whom United get in as their new manager, whether that new manager sees Bruno as being a big part of his plans or not, and obviously if that manager can obviously drive that club to success. Fernandes has a lot of fire within him, like we said, has a lot of desire to win the big trophies, I'm sure, and play in the top competitions. And under United's current state right now, they're not in that bracket of being contenders or strong enough contenders. And they may continue to fall away. It is a possibility. So it remains to be seen. That unknown entity is a massive one that obviously could backfire on this story, should obviously things continue in a sort of downward spiral, I guess. Either way, it does appear only a matter of time before this news is confirmed and is announced fully. But it does appear that Bruno Fernandes and United will continue to work together for his long-term future. Alright, next up we're talking about Tammy Abraham, the striker who is currently tearing up Serie A right now for Roma, Jose Mourinho's Roma that is. Could he be back in the Premier League this summer? Well, the England striker moved to Serie A, of course, last summer for a fee in the region of £34 million. He moved from Chelsea to Roma to play under Jose Mourinho at his new club in Serie A. And like I say, he's hit the ground running in Italy, scoring 23 goals and assisting 4 times in the 40 appearances in all competitions that he's made for Roma this season. But of course, with that fine form comes a lot of interest, and those clubs that are allegedly interested in securing his services are said to be from the Premier League in particular. And with the rumour mill beginning to turn and continuing to spin on where the 24-year-old's future may lie, Roma have decided to go ahead and try and ward off any sort of interest with a massive £100 million price tag on his head for this upcoming transfer window in the summer. Reportedly, both Manchester clubs are said to be interested in signing him, United and City, although it is being said that City may be seeing Abraham as a more of an alternative route to their main striker. Their main priority this season is still said to be Erling Haaland. He's said to be top of Pep Guardiola's shopping list this summer, so Abraham may be seen as more of an alternative, just in case, for whatever reason, City don't go on and sign Haaland. Abraham is said to be a backup option. There's also said to be another factor, of course, in this whole story, in the fact that Chelsea, a return to Chelsea could be on the cards for him. Maybe not this summer, but maybe next summer, because it is being said that the Blues had inserted a buyback clause into his contract somewhere in the region of £67 million. So a third off what the £100 million total or price tag would be for this summer. It won't become active until next year, so that buyback option won't become active till next year. But like I say, with Abraham's form and his reputation and his talent continuing to grow and evolve in Serie A, and with that of his replacement, or said to be his replacement, of Romelu Lukaku sort of faltering somewhat at Stamford Bridge this season with Chelsea, it seems that it's very possible that should things continue to go in the direction that both strikers are going in, Lukaku's seemingly partial decline whilst Abraham's rise, that the Blues may explore bringing Abraham back next year through triggering and activating that buyback clause that, like I say, won't become active until 2023. Like I say, it's an interesting story, this one, because there are different parts and different elements to this. Obviously, the three teams involved are huge in themselves, but it's going to be a story that's going to continue to develop going forward, I think. He's been great in Serie A. He's been really good in Serie A. Like I say, his goals contributions don't lie. They are very good. Over 50% either goals or assists in the games that he's played in, which is very, very good. He seems to be enjoying life in Italy, enjoying life under Jose Mourinho. So that has definitely been good for him. Reignited his career after somewhat sort of falling away a little bit at Chelsea over recent years. Definitely improved. I've never really been his biggest fan. I think that he's good. I just didn't think he quite hit the heights of being at a top level kind of club. I think he's still got some areas to improve. I think he's got some areas to improve in certain areas, mainly consistency wise, particularly in the Premier League, of course. But maybe I will be proven wrong in the end. Like I say, I'm always open to be proven wrong about my own opinions and thoughts. As to where his future lies, like I say, if things continue the way they're happening with Lukaku right now, and if things continue to happen with the way that Abraham is continuing to progress and evolve right now, a return to Chelsea is very much on the cards, and that is where I see his future lying. If maybe Haaland does go to City, if Kane does go to a Manchester United, for example, or something, that might leave the door open for Abraham to return to Chelsea if obviously they're in need of more of a recognised striker. And that is where I see it possibly happening. And obviously with that buyback clause that becomes active next year, it represents a big possibility and a big opportunity, shall we say, of that happening. So overall, I'd say definitely watch this space on this story. Tammy Abraham may be on the move sooner rather than later. And finally, in some incredible news, in some news that is a real feel-good moment, Christian Eriksen is back on the international scene with Denmark and scored with his first touch. Of course, the midfielder has been getting back into the swing of things regarding his football, and of course signed for Brentford in the January transfer window. And he is back on the international scene with his national side Denmark, coming on as a half-time substitute in what was Denmark's game against the Netherlands this past weekend. And he scored within the first 2 minutes of him being back in the squad, and scored with his first touch as, like I say, he returned to the Denmark squad following that horrific cardiac arrest incident that happened in the European Championships last year. His goal was described by him as being the perfect moment and like I say, it definitely is a feel-good moment and a good moment overall to end this video on. So fair play and well done to Christian Eriksen for that. But as I always say, these are just the thoughts, comments, opinions, predictions, whatever you want to call it, of this guy. I want to know what you guys think. What do you make of any of these news stories that I talked about within this video? What do you make of the Marcus Rashford situation? Could he be on the way out of Manchester United at the end of the season? What do you make of Bruno Fernandes signing, or on the verge, should I say, of signing a new deal at Manchester United? Is the timing a little off? Is the priority not quite right at Manchester United with this one? What do you make of the Tammy Abraham situation? Could he be on the move away from Roma sooner rather than later? And what do you make of the Christian Eriksen thing? The feel-good moment for Christian Eriksen, who scored with his first touch since being back in the Danish national side. I'd love to know your thoughts, your comments, opinions, predictions, whatever you want to call it, on any of these subjects down below in the comment section, because I'm sure it'll all make for interesting reading. Otherwise, hit the like button on the way up, enjoy the video, subscribe if you're new and want to see more content like this. Both things are always and forever be greatly appreciated. And as always, thank you all so much for watching and listening. I've been Fletch, this has been another all New-Newz video, and I will see and speak to you all again soon in another video.